Obviously, there are lots of Christmas traditions, and my Christmas message each year, annual though it is, I am aware, is not at the top of anybody's list of Christmas highlights. But this year, I don't know, it feels like this is an important message, at least for me to hear, and so I pass it on to you in the hopes and marks that it might be something which blesses, encourages, and leads us all into next year. For this message, I think might be one of the more important ones that I feel I've given over the last few Christmases at least. It comes in two parts. The first part is really quick and is really important. The second part is a little bit longer and also important, but I definitely want you to hear the first part before you switch off. This has been 2021, as you know, another tricky year. And so, more than anything, I want to thank you for playing your part in the village. Whatever your part has been over this year, the village would not have been the same without you. It feels a very long time ago that the tier system felt a new system, and we were in tier 4 this time last year. We were experiencing our first Christmas all on screens. We were navigating what was going to be allowed in the second lockdown or the third lockdown, I lose count, and that feels like a long time ago. Since then, we've done church together in various places and spaces. We've been online, we've been in each other's back gardens or front drives, we've been in parks and lakes, we've been met at Heron's Lodge, we've sat around campfires, we've had things advertised that have happened, we've had things advertised and planned which haven't happened and have had to be cancelled. You were supposed to be at some things and then couldn't due to last minute things. We've each had to navigate how to protect our wider family and our wider friendship groups and our wider circles as we decide which things to go to and which things to prioritise. People have turned up on Zoom meetings. People have shown generosity in financial giving and in idea giving and in caring for one another and in dragging each other through a complex time. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for turning up. Thank you for smiling at the Zoom camera when it hasn't been what you've wanted to do. Thank you for being honest and vulnerable about your feelings when a smile has been too much and you've needed to ask for help. Thank you for being prepared to give help and to receive it. Thank you for continuing to allow and to facilitate the growth of St. Mark's Meals and the Sanctuary Network and Youth Work Plus and all kinds of things that St. Mark's kickstarts and blesses and shows love and hope to people throughout the city because of you. And those things haven't stopped. In fact, they've all grown during this most complex of times. So thank you. More than anything, thanks for being a gang of people who I don't mind when anybody texts or calls me because I like you all. And that is a beautiful thing. And so thanks for being my friend throughout 2021. Here's a story, and it's been an instructive story to me throughout the course of the pandemic, and I think will be an encouragement to us going into 2022. The story goes like this, that at the end of a busy day, Jesus, having spent time, hours, providing care and attention and love and space and companionship and healing for people, is exhausted. Who wouldn't be? So he says to his friends, his disciples, his followers, let's get in the boat and go to the other side of the lake. They've been on one side of the lake all day. They've been healing people and praying for people and listening to people's stories about their lives. And he's just exhausted and he wants to get to the other side. And so he's surrounded by fishermen in his crew. He's got a bunch of fishermen. So they have boats. And so they all jump into one of these boats and they start rowing. Now, this isn't recorded in the Bible, but I imagine there's a little bit of grumbling because it's towards the end of the day and most normal people wouldn't decide to try and get to the other side of the lake at the end of the day. They'd have, found a place to stay for the night and gone over in the morning. But when Jesus says jump, you jump. And so the disciples jump into the boat and they start rowing. Now, an important thing to know about the lake is it's surrounded by hills and by mountains. You can probably picture it. And so if you've ever done the Duke of Edinburgh, one of the things that they'll tell you when they do the awards and you're up near mountains or lakes is they'll say things like, the weather can change very quickly. You have to be prepared for all things. And so that's exactly what happens. The weather changes very, very quickly. And so cut from there in the story where Jesus says, let's go to the other side of the lake. Cut in your director's mind's eye to now the middle of the night. It's pitch black apart from, well, nothing, because they didn't have any lights. So it's pitch black. The waves are rolling over the side of the boat. A storm has blown in. The winds have picked up. The waves are crashing and splashing water into the boat. They've taken down the sail off the mast for fear that the wind would tear it and they'd be left. And the disciples are split now between some of them rowing, others with buckets or handfuls just bailing water over the side, desperately, frantically trying so that their boat doesn't sink, because that's everybody's worst nightmare. Being in a small wooden fishing boat in the pitch black dark where you can't tell which way you need to swim to get to the other side, because you can't see the other side. Disaster. They're all doing it, apart from one person. Jesus is asleep at the front of the boat. And so eventually the disciples, having exhausted themselves, panicked themselves, feared themselves, worked themselves into a bit of a stupor. They're bailing water over the side, they're rowing frantically, they're taking down the mast, they're deciding who's going to be in charge of this sinking ship. They all look at each other and there's this message that's communicated: somebody's got to wake Jesus up. I don't know who does it. They shake him, because you have to shake people sometimes. They shake Jesus and they say, "What are you doing? Give us a hand. Get a bucket, start bailing, or get an oar and start rowing. Don't you care that we're all about to die?" And then Jesus tells them off. He's like exasperated. If you are a parent of a little one, you will know this feeling of being woken up in the middle of the night for a reason that doesn't seem worth it, you know? If you were ever a small child and you remember having to wake one of your parents up in the middle of the night, you'll know this feeling from the other side. That often as a parent, you're like, "Are you kidding me? You've woken me up at 3 a.m. in the middle of one of the best dreams ever just to tell me that you've lost your teddy. It's there on your bed." And in that moment, as a parent, you'll do anything just to calm the situation. Jesus says to them, "What? I can't believe you've woken me up. Where is your faith? Why are you so fearful? Why are you worried?" And then, as if just wanting to placate the situation and sort everything out and get back to sleep, he, almost as a throwaway, turns, looks out towards the winds and the waves and says, "Peace, be still." And the storm stops. The waves die down, the wind goes to a hushed breeze, and he returns to his cushion. The disciples look at each other in amazement, because who wouldn't if you saw that? And then, I guess, shrug their shoulders and carry on rowing in the direction they think they should row in. Jesus goes back to sleep. Now, that's an amazing story, and that is a point in the life of their following of Jesus that some of the disciples look at each other and go, "Oh, you're that guy, you can do that. Okay, right, we're in." They see it as the physical working out of some declarations of God that have been made in the Psalms that they remembered learning when they were kids at school about how only God can control the wind and the waves, and they've just seen somebody control the wind and the waves, and so this guy must be God. And so there's this moment of realization in their hearts that this is what's happened. But here's the thing that grabs me about the story. Jesus is annoyed that they've woken him up. Why? Well, loads of theologians have looked at this story, and people cleverer than me have written books about it, and here's what they say about it. Jesus is seemingly a little annoyed or wonders why they've woken him up, because he's already said, "We're going to the other side." And so in Jesus' mind, there is no question that they're going to the other side. It doesn't matter what the nature of the storm, it doesn't matter what the ferocity of the storm, it doesn't matter how wild the wind blows, Jesus knows they're going to the other side. And so, why would you worry, O disciples, you're going to the other side? In a moment I want to think about the boat, but first we need to focus on the storm. We're in a storm. Listen, we haven't had to flee for our lives from a war-torn zone or a crazy despotic dictator. Most of us have been able to eat food this week. All of us, I imagine. None of us have had to suddenly start sharing houses with lots of other families because some of our houses have been bombed out. There are levels of desperation that we're experiencing, but let's not kid ourselves. The last 2 years have been extraordinary. There have been things that we have never imagined seeing and certainly would never expect to see in our lifetime in our little corner of the world. We're each having to make so many decisions every day that we're experiencing decision fatigue. Just every, a coffee with a friend suddenly feels like a thing you have to navigate. Are they an anti-vaxxer? Do I have to, where can we go? Can we go outside? What's the weather going to be? Should we meet inside? Am I allowed to meet inside? That coffee shop, how far apart are the table space? Is that coffee shop run by people that take this seriously enough or not? How's school dealing with this? How are my friends dealing with this? How are my elderly parents dealing with it? Or everything becomes a big decision. The decision fatigue is real. The financial impact and the worrying about the ongoing financial impact and how that might affect our children and our children's children as our country pays for it for years. There's all this stuff and it's a storm. And at the risk of, being a real party pooper at Christmas, it isn't going to end this week. But the storm is bigger than that. And again, I don't want to, make this too apocalyptic, but I think I want us to be prepared for the storm to carry on. It has gotten harder, hasn't it? Over the last decade, since I've lived in Milton Keynes, I've been reflecting on what church was like when we started and what it feels like now. It's gotten harder to be a person of hope. I think over the next few years to be a community that consistently, unapologetically, persistently welcomes refugees no matter the cost, well, that's going to get harder and harder and harder. Can you believe that we live in a time and in a country where in one of the richest countries in the world there are people who literally block lifeboats going down the ramp because they don't think they should go into the sea to protect and pick up and rescue drowning migrants and refugees? In our culture, to be a group, a community of people who always welcome the other, and the storm's only going to get bigger. In our lifetime, there are going to be more wars and there are going to be more people that are displaced due to climate catastrophe. And so we're going to have to grow even more as a people of unapologetic welcome that never ends because there's always room at our table. It's a storm. The polemic of politics, I can't imagine there's going to be a peacemaker turns up anytime soon and occupies so much ground that everybody says, okay, we'll vote for them and we'll all be kind to each other. That doesn't feel like it's going to happen anytime soon. It's a storm. The gathering doom clouds of financial meltdown, well, that's a storm. It might be in the future, it might be in our minds, it might be in reality, but no matter what, it's a storm. The rising levels of anxiety which exist in our lives every single day, which maybe weren't there when life was so much more simple, but now there are so many things to contend with, so much news to watch, so many news feeds to keep up with, so many people's different opinions to track with and to hold and to wonder how I can still be friends or family with those people. The levels of anxiety we each experience are a storm for many of us. The number of children and young people in our church is fantastic. Many Sundays throughout the year, it equals the number of adults or surpasses it. The number of children and young people in churches who love Jesus across the country is plummeting. It's a storm. And it's not because I care about church attendance, it's because I want our young people to know the greatest friend and saviour they could ever begin to wish for throughout their lives, who will give them hope in dark days. I want our kids to form relationships with healthy church communities throughout the rest of their lives. It's a storm where some of us who have, we're sorting out our faith. We're renovating it. We're rebuilding it. We're chipping off the bits that have caused hurt from the past, and we're not sure what we want to pass on to other people. And so we're passing on something that we're not sure about ourselves. Well, that's producing uncertainty in our children. That's a storm. The pornographication of society, where our young people are faced every day with hardcore porn on their phones, in their pockets, and the expectation in their relationships at 13 and 14 is that they're able to do what they see on the screens. It's a storm. Gang, here's whatever you think about those storms. Here's the deal. Jesus' boat gets to the other side. Here's my commitment for 2022. I want to be in the boat. I have to be in the boat. There are other boats. There are the boats of medication of all different kinds. There are the boats of self-medication. There's the boat of Netflix. There's the boat of just entertaining it all away. There's the boat of worry. There's the boat of cynicism. There's the boat of sticking your head in the sand and hoping it all disappears. There's the boat of political engagement and placard waving. Jesus is the boat that gets to the other side. And so here's my encouragement. For some of us, there's a commitment that's required to be in the boat. And sometimes that just means kind of, as I step into 2022, yes, Lord, I'm in the boat. Some of us have jumped out of the boat and we're aware that we need to get back in and we've just got one foot in the boat. And so my encouragement, kindly, gently, graciously, is to accept the welcome of the Master into the boat that makes it to the other side. Some of us don't feel like we're in Jesus' boat, and maybe my call is jump in. What does that look like? Well, for us as a village, I think, let's be honest, the storm has caused storm damage to us over the last couple of years. We're not the same as we were 2 years ago when we could easily sit around a table and not worry about passing ketchup and having to wipe it down before you accepted it off somebody. Some of us have found it harder to be regular attenders at village events. Some of us, well, all of us, I would imagine, have felt the depletion of the relational energy and commitment and momentum that we experience with other people because we know less about each other's lives because we've lived in each other's pockets much less over the last couple of years. The storm has caused storm damage. And so we need to reconvene. We need to recognize where we are and we need to commit to go forward again. And that means, I think, resetting and restoring to factory settings. It means saying we commit to follow Jesus. We commit to be around a table with others and share our lives. We commit to prayer. Those are the things that I think we started with, where we shared our stuff and our time and we gave time to prayer and we committed to following Jesus, and that's pretty much all we decided to do. Everything else will build on top of those foundation stones. So we're going to try and restore to factory settings. We're going to try and make sure, even if it's in a car park, sitting in the back of the boots in a drizzly January morning, we'll be together. We'll dive into prayer. We'll trust that Jesus, in his mysterious, gracious, kind, wonderful, sometimes frustratingly out of touch way, out of reach way, would guide us and would hold us and would strengthen us. Individually, it will mean something different to each one of us. It will mean maybe a commitment to spending time strengthening our core, to gathering people around us who we can be vulnerable with and encourage and grow with and learn with and cheer each other on. For some of us, it might mean we're doing those things, but we haven't been committed to a village around where we are. For some of us, it means we've stepped out of the arena of trying to love others. I don't want to say what it will mean for you, but here's my encouragement. Let's help each other be in the boat. Because I don't think the storm is going to end anytime soon. And so I want to be in Jesus' boat. I want to be in the boat of the Master who isn't surprised or scared by the ferocity of the storm. I want to be in the boat with other disciples who can, alongside me, help bail water or help wake up and call on the presence of the Master or just learn from him. It's a much less scary thing to be in the fishing boat that's about to go under when you're with other people. I want to be with other people in the boat. I'm determined that I too get to the other side, not beaten down by cynicism, not destroyed and ripped apart by polemic arguments, not hampered by hatred, not caused to wander off on my own, but I want to get to the other side with others, with you, building a village of faith, hope and love, joyful in all things, patient with each other all the time, loving people even when they don't look, sound, vote like me, showing hope to people that live in the shadows, being unapologetically and unstoppably welcoming to others. I want to be in the boat. My encouragement for you as we jump into 2022 is commit to the boat too. I think it's the best place to be. Gang, have a wonderful Christmas. Here's my encouragement for Christmas. Don't miss it. It's so easy to miss it with the films and the food and the razzmatazz and the news. Don't miss it. Make sure there's a moment somewhere where you, in your style and in your way, get to engage with the baby in the manger. For me, it's always means stepping outside of the house, usually looking up at the stars, listening to the birds sing early one morning, and remembering that one night, a long time ago, in a place nobody expected, in a way nobody expected, God showed lavish, gracious love for us. Happy Christmas, everybody. May you be blessed with the presence of the Prince of Peace.